Welcome back, CoinQuest coin collectors and history lovers. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1968 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This is more than just a small copper coin in your pocket. This is a slice of American history that could be worth far more than just 1 cent. So stick with me as we uncover the story, the design, the mintage, and of course the current market value of the 1968 penny and why some of these coins are fetching a surprising amount of money today. Let's begin with a little historical background. The Lincoln cent, also known as the Lincoln penny, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature the likeness of a real person. Up until then, coins only bore symbolic figures like Lady Liberty, but Lincoln broke that mold, and for good reason. He was one of the most significant figures in American history, leading the country through the Civil War and abolishing slavery. Now fast forward to 1968, a very unique year in American coin history. The 1968 Lincoln cent continued to feature the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front of the coin, along with the words "In God We Trust," the word liberty, and the date 1968. However, something changed in this year. There were two versions of the coin struck, one minted in Philadelphia and the other in San Francisco. The San Francisco coins carry the small s mint mark just below the date, while the Philadelphia coins do not have a mint mark at all. The reverse side of the coin still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design that began in 1959, replacing the original wheat ears design. This Lincoln Memorial design was created by Frank Gasparo and shows the famous monument in Washington, D.C. If you look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on the back, you can even see a tiny image of the seated Lincoln inside the memorial. It's a little-known detail that coin collectors love to point out. So what makes the 1968 penny special? Well, it depends on a few factors like the mint location, the condition of the coin, and any potential errors. First, let's talk about mintage numbers. In 1968, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.7 billion pennies, that's billion with a B. The Denver Mint produced around 2.9 billion, and the San Francisco Mint produced approximately 258 million. So in terms of rarity, the San Francisco 1968's penny is the scarcest of the three, but rarity alone doesn't always determine value. What really drives up value is condition and collector demand. If you have a 1968 penny in average circulated condition, it's probably worth just 1 cent, maybe slightly more to a casual collector. However, if you have one in uncirculated or mint condition, especially if it's been graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, the value can increase dramatically. For example, a 1968's penny graded MS67 red has sold at auction for over $200. That's a huge return on a 1 cent coin. Now let's talk about error coins. This is where things get really interesting. In 1968, a number of pennies were struck with doubling errors, especially from the San Francisco Mint. These double die errors typically appear on the obverse with doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Coins with clear doubling can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and clarity of the error. Another thing to watch for is a 1968 penny struck on a bronze planchet from another denomination. For example, if it was struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. These off-metal errors are incredibly rare but very valuable. In fact, some of these rare mint errors have sold for over $1,000 at auction. So how can you tell if your 1968 penny is worth money? First, take a look at the mint mark. If it's an S, you already have the lowest mintage version, which is good news. Next, examine the color red pennies, meaning coins that still have their original red luster are worth more than brown or red-brown coins. Use a magnifying glass to look closely for any doubling on the date or lettering. Finally, consider having the coin professionally graded. If you believe it's in top condition, grading gives collectors confidence and helps determine an accurate market value. In today's coin market, prices for high-grade 1968 pennies vary depending on color and mint mark, but here are some ballpark figures. A 1968's penny in MS65 red condition can fetch around $20 to $30. A 1968D penny in similar condition might bring $10 to $15. A top-graded MS67 red example could go for $150 to $300 or more, especially if there is a bidding war at auction. It's also important to mention proof coins. In 1968, the San Francisco Mint also struck proof sets. These proof coins are made with special dies and polished planchets to create a mirror-like finish. They're not meant for circulation but for collectors. Proof 1968's pennies in PR69 deep cameo condition can also reach over $100 depending on eye appeal and demand. So to sum it all up, the 1968 Lincoln penny may seem like a common coin, but under the right circumstances it can be worth a surprising amount of money. Whether it's due to a rare mint error, a pristine condition, a low mintage, or strong collector demand, there are plenty of reasons to keep an eye out for this particular cent. So next time you're going through your change jar or an old coin collection, take a moment to check those 1968 pennies. You never know, you might be holding a small fortune in your hands. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and share with your fellow collectors. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a valuable penny or have questions about coin collecting. We'll see you next time with more hidden treasures and coin collecting tips. Today we are diving into a coin that most of us have seen at some point in our lives, but you might not know just how interesting and potentially valuable it can be. We are talking about the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This coin might look like just another piece of loose change you find under your couch cushions, but there is so much more to it than meets the eye. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and let's explore the history, value, and surprising worth of the 1980 penny. First, let's take a quick look at the history of the Lincoln cent, which has been in circulation since 1909. That year marked the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the United States Mint decided to honor him by putting his portrait on the penny, making him the first real person to be featured on regular circulating American coinage. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and it has become one of the most iconic and longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. Now fast forward to the year 1980. America was going through a time of change economically, politically, and culturally. Ronald Reagan had just been elected president. Inflation was high and people were feeling the pinch of rising prices, including rising metal prices, which were affecting coin production. One of the key things that makes the 1980 penny stand out is that it was one of the last years the coin was made entirely of copper. Up until 1982, pennies were composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which meant each coin had some intrinsic metal value. Due to the price of copper by 1980, the cost of copper had gone up so much that people were literally melting pennies down for their metal content, and the U.S. Mint was starting to feel the pressure. As a result, they eventually switched to a cheaper composition in 1982, using mostly zinc with just a thin layer of copper plating. But in 1980, the penny was still solid copper, and that's a big deal for collectors and investors today because these pre-1982 coins have real weight and value. Now you might be wondering, how much can a 1980 Lincoln penny be worth? And the answer is it depends. For your everyday circulated 1980 penny with no special errors or mint condition, it's still worth 1 cent, of course, although technically because of its copper content it might be worth around 2 to 3 cents in metal melt value. But don't go melting your coins because that's illegal in the US. But if you have a 1980 penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and still looks brand new, or if it has a rare mint error, then you could be looking at a coin worth a lot more. Some uncirculated examples, especially those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for several dollars each depending on their condition and luster. For example, a 1980 penny with a high mint state grade such as MS65 or MS67 can fetch anywhere from $5 to $50 or even more depending on the demand and the market. Even more exciting are the rare error coins that sometimes make it out of the mint. A 1980 penny with a double die error off center strike or clipped planchet can be worth big money. In some cases, error coins from this year have sold for hundreds of dollars or more depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. One of the most sought after errors is the double die obverse, where the lettering or date appears doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. If you happen to find a 1980 penny with clear doubling on the date or on the word Liberty or In God We Trust, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds. And then there's the matter of mint marks. In 1980, pennies were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia minted coins have no mint mark, the Denver ones have a small D, and the San Francisco ones have an S. But most 1980s pennies were proof coins made specifically for collectors. Proof coins have a mirror-like finish and are struck multiple times to bring out the fine details, and these can be especially valuable when kept in pristine condition. If you have a 1980s proof penny still sealed in its original government packaging or graded as PR69 or PR70 by a coin grading service, then you might have something truly special. These proof coins often sell for $10 to $20 or more depending on the condition and demand. And let's not forget about the full red designation in copper coins. Color matters. A penny that has retained its original red luster over time without turning brown or dull is considered more desirable and often commands a higher price. So what should you do if you think you have a valuable 1980 penny? Well, first take a close look at the condition. If it looks brand new and shiny, put it aside. You might want to invest in a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to check for doubling or other minting errors. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and the edges. If you think you've got something special, consider getting it graded by a professional service. Even if you don't have a rare error coin, it's still worth going through your change and pulling out all those pre-1982 pennies, because the copper value alone is higher than face value, and who knows what you might discover. It's like a modern-day treasure hunt, and it doesn't cost you anything to get started. So to sum it all up, the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent coin may not seem like a big deal at first glance, but it has real historical significance. As one of the last true copper pennies, it also has real collector appeal especially in high grade or with rare mint errors, and while you're not likely to become a millionaire from a single penny, you just might stumble across a coin that's worth far more than 1 cent. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1980 penny, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on future videos about hidden coin treasures and surprising finds in your own pocket change. Let me know in the comments if you've ever found a valuable penny or if you're just getting started in the world of coin collecting. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and happy collecting. If you are a coin collector, a history lover, or just someone who enjoys learning about the hidden gems in your pocket change, you are in for a treat. Today we are diving deep into the world of the 1985 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Yes, that small copper coin with Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile. You might have dozens of them lying around. But did you know that some versions of the 1985 penny can be worth a surprising amount of money today? So sit back, relax, and let's explore the fascinating story, the value, and the secrets behind the 1985 Lincoln penny. First, a bit of history. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic figure. Over the years, the design has undergone a few changes, but the image of Lincoln on the obverse has remained almost unchanged for over a century. Now fast forward to 1985. The 1985 Lincoln penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The ones from Philadelphia do not have a mint mark. The Denver ones carry a small D, and the San Francisco coins have an S mint mark. However, most people rarely encounter the San Francisco versions because those were proof coins made specifically for collectors. The composition of the 1985 penny is also interesting. By 1982, the U.S. Mint had switched from using 95% copper to copper-plated zinc because of rising copper prices. So by 1985, the standard penny was made with a core of zinc and just a thin outer layer of copper. That means if your 1985 penny looks a little different or feels heavier than usual, it could be a rare leftover struck with the old copper alloy, and that can be worth serious money. So how much are these coins worth today? That depends on a few things. First, condition matters. A regular 1985 penny in average circulated condition is worth just 1 cent. But in uncirculated condition or with certain rare errors, the value can jump significantly. Let's talk about errors because that's where things get really exciting. One of the most sought-after 1985 Lincoln penny errors is the doubled die. A doubled die happens when the design is accidentally struck twice at slightly different angles, making the letters and numbers look doubled. If you find a 1985 penny with doubling on the date or the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust," you might be looking at a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the coin's condition. Another popular error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned during minting, leaving part of the design missing. The more dramatic the off-center error, the more valuable the coin can be. A 1985 penny with a 50% off-center strike could be worth anywhere from $50 to $200 or more. There are also coins with die cracks, clipped planchets, and transitional errors, where a coin from 1985 was accidentally struck using an old copper planchet instead of the new zinc one. Those transitional error pennies are extremely rare and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and confirmation from a grading service. Speaking of grading, if you think you have a valuable 1985 penny, it's worth getting it graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. A graded and authenticated error penny will fetch much more money at auction or from collectors. So what are collectors paying right now for the 1985 Lincoln cent? As of the latest market data, a typical 1985 penny in mint state condition, that means it has never been in circulation, can sell for anywhere between $2 and $15. That might not seem like a fortune, but when you consider it's a 1-cent coin, that is a pretty good return. However, a 1985 penny with a dramatic error, like a double die or an off-center strike, can easily go for $50, $100, or even several $100s if it's in pristine condition. Some rare versions with multiple errors or proof-like qualities have sold for over $1,000 at major auctions. So the next time you get change at the store or dig into your coin jar at home, take a closer look at those pennies. Especially if you spot a 1985 one. Look for any signs of doubling, strange shapes, missing parts, or even a heavier than usual feel. It could be worth your time to inspect each one carefully. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. The 1985 Lincoln penny was made mostly of zinc with a copper coating. Most are only worth face value, but in uncirculated condition or with major mint errors, they can be worth a lot more. Look out for doubled dies, off-center strikes, transitional metal errors, and always consider professional grading for high-value finds. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed learning about the 1985 penny and want more videos about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. And hey, tell us in the comments if you've ever found a rare penny in your change. You never know, the next big discovery could be in your pocket right now. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting!